Today we're going to discuss Smartlink, and I want to focus on this topic because it's something that caught the eye of a number of people in the recent Halo Infinite gameplay. Now this wasn't due to Smartlink itself being present, but instead being absent. In other words, this function that we're used to in Halo 5, digital aim down sights and partially seeing the weapon frame, appears to be gone. In that entire Infinite reveal, we didn't see a single instance of any weapon having Smartlink or aiming down sights, with the exception of the new Commando AR for a split second. Now whether you want to call this ADS, Smartlink, or just zooming in, I really don't care. In my mind, it's the same purpose, but slightly different animations. Anyway, this moment was the only time we saw a glimpse of any aim down sights function in Halo Infinite so far. Every other time when Master Chief was using a weapon, he used hip fire. Now what does this mean? Does it mean Smartlink is gone? Is it sent to the graveyard of failed Halo mechanics, thus allowing some fans to sleep easier at night? Well, to that I say not necessarily, and here's my reasoning. In all these encounters where Master Chief is actually shooting enemies, these are all close quarter combat scenarios. And in a game like Halo, at those close range encounters, there's absolutely no reason to aim down sights. We all know this as Halo players, it's not quantum physics, it's experience. And it's consistent in all Halo games. Unlike titles such as Call of Duty, Battlefield, Destiny, or whatever, where hipfire is rather inaccurate and ineffective, forcing players to ADS, that is not the case in Halo. In this game, hipfire still remains at the core of gunfights because it's still effective. Matter of fact, you can go play any Halo game right now and you're going to see that a lot of the time you'll still be firing from the hip, no issues. And yes, this still holds true for Halo 5 despite the presence of Smartlink. So with that said, again, there was no reason for Master Chief to aim down sights in the Infinite gameplay that we did see, and therefore this does not rule out the possibility of Smartlink being in Halo Infinite. Just gonna put that out there. But having said that, and reasoning through the evidence that we do have, personally I believe Smartlink is no more. It honestly looks like it's just removed. Because if you think about it, 343 could have structured this gameplay reveal in many ways that would have shown aim down sights on different weapons, if it was present. So more mid-range encounters, long range, and those scenarios that require ADS for more accuracy. But that was not the case. Instead, they focus on highlighting hipfire as if to stress the removal of Smartlink. And I know that really makes some players happy because they absolutely hated this weapon ability, but at the same time, others are going to be disappointed. In particular, many fans of Halo 5 and anyone that likes a standardized zoom function on guns. Now if you've been with the channel, it's no surprise that I'm a fan of Halo 5, and Smartlink itself was something I actually liked having on all the weapons. Some of you will disagree with that, but it is what it is. Different players like different things. And although I am disappointed to see Smartlink probably not return, I'm also gonna say it's not a major issue. And I hope I can clarify this for other fans of Halo 5 who are concerned, so just hear me out. This goes back to what I said earlier about hipfire. Just because Smartlink is gone doesn't mean your weapon can't be effective in its intended range. In Halo 5, for example, you can go use an AR, SMG, Gunfighter, Magnum, Magnum BR, etc., all weapons perfectly fine from hipfire. Every Halo weapon has something called red reticle range where it functions well due to increased aim assist. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with this concept because we covered this many times before. An SMG will still be good at close range and hipfire, and the same thing can be said for an AR. Then the BR will be better than those weapons for mid-range and hipfire, and the DMR for longer ranges. This all stems from their respective red reticle ranges, causing these weapons to be more effective in their intended ranges, short, mid, or long. The thing that Smartlink, ADS, or zoom does is it applies a zoom in factor to increase red reticle range. In other words, it extends aim assist to greater distances so your weapon is more effective. So if you remove it, you just remove the weapon's effectiveness at longer ranges, not at the closer intended ranges. So weapons such as the SMG, the AR, and even that new Mark 50 sidekick, they will all be fine in Halo Infinite, even in hipfire. Don't get the wrong idea, the removal of Smartlink will not make these weapons trash. Now obviously Smartlink did also reduce reticle bloom on automatics, so in that manner yes, autos will be slightly worse in terms of accuracy. Again, this might be disappointing to a number of players because they just like being able to aim with all guns, but that's not something you should give yourself a headache over. Weapon balance in Halo can get complicated, but removing Smartlink doesn't mean a complete removal of an aim down sights function. All the scoped weapons in Halo Infinite will still be able to aim down sights or zoom in traditionally like before. So the BR, DMR, Carbine, whatever weapons return, pretty much all the precision weapons, they'll have zoom. The Smartlink not being present will just affect some standard close range weapons like the AR, SMG, Mangler, Energy Sword probably, and so on. But even then, I still think some of these weapons like the AR and SMG will still be able to get modified with sight attachments, and that will allow them to regain that zoom function that Smartlink offered before. And I say this because we've seen multiple scope variants be introduced in Halo 5, and I think a similar system of weapon upgrades is going to make a return in Halo Infinite, although I do think it's going to be more advanced and restricted to certain playlists. So that open world setting that we saw, I think modifying weapons will be allowed there, but also in maybe a Warzone 2.0 playlist too. It's not confirmed at this point, but we do know weapon variants are coming back, so I won't be surprised if a new Warzone style playlist does get added also. Now for Arena and Ranked, I doubt weapon mods will be allowed. I think it'll stick to the more traditional Halo combat of fair starts. So long story short, I believe Smartlink's removal will not lead to a complete removal of aim down sights abilities for every weapon. It's more like different playlists will offer different options, and obviously this puts that freedom in players' hands depending on what they like to play. Now I myself like this ability in Halo 5 like I said, but also as we discussed, it's not something that's a requirement for weapons to be effective. Sure, some standard weapons will now have less accuracy and range without it, such as the AR, but to that point it's not really a major issue if you can't shoot someone at 50 meters with automatics. That's what precision weapons are for, right? Like even in Halo 5, no decent player goes challenging BRs and DMRs with an AR at 50 meters, at 100 meters. That is nonsense, even though the AR does have Smartlink. No one does that unless they're trolling or messing around. Anyway, all I'm gonna say is Halo Infinite will be fine without Smartlink. So if that's something that concerns you, then don't worry. I think the weapon sandbox in general will be solid and only expand with time, which is nice.
Boo.
Alright, so that's gonna be it for this one. As always, I want to thank you all for watching, and until next time.